gonna record. We got it all going. Let me put share screens. Everybody can share their screen. Hi, everybody. We were talking in the green room that it's not the Barilli show this week. We got Steve, Andrea, Tom, got a full house. Kicked Amanda off. She's like, I'm out. Peace out. She's gonna hang in the background. So for those ones that have ditched us for the past few weeks, Happy New Year, you guys.
I know, Happy New Year.
Or like I like to say Happy Groundhog's Day. I feel like we're like just in this thing.
And yeah, and now the COVID is back.
Yeah.
Not that it ever left. But.
It never left, and it's just like, I don't know. I mean, trying to figure out what to do with events. I mean, I just want to have book recommendation tea time for like 5 days a week, because it's just
keep it simple.
Keep it simple. It's just easier. I don't know. I don't even know what to do. My head's spinning with the event stuff. So, but there's some really good books, and there's some really good books coming out. Two things that I'm noticing, I think. I don't know if you guys, if this is what you're noticing too. Seems like a lot got published in January, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah.
Because it's usually kind of the slower month, but I think COVID has just like shifted so much. I just got done with grids. Looks like a lot of stuff is now publishing in August, which used to be a super dead month. Tom and Steve, I specifically noticed with you guys with PRH, it was like there's a lot of stuff coming out in August, which I thought was really strange, because I mean there's never anything out in August.
I know that has been. I feel like it's been shifting the last couple of years.
Yeah,
there's just so many books. I think they have to spread them as evenly as they can.
Yeah, remember PRH has like half the market, so when they put out, they got to distribute those books in between months.
I don't know.
Not use all 12.
Not yet,
Gabe.
Not yet.
They haven't taken over the world yet.
Yeah.
Yet being the keyword. Yet.
I need to find.
Pretty close.
We got a lot of books coming this season too. We have a lot of books. We're taking over Houghton Mifflin, so Harper is now the official
are you official
of
now?
Houghton Mifflin titles.
Okay.
So we're really excited to have Houghton on board. And
Andrea's just sitting there going, yeah, talk to me about how many books I have to talk about.
Right.
Andrea
has a few in August too.
I have all the strays, like,
and Andrea's just like, don't even talk to
the
me.
big houses. I get all the indie presses, so
it's all good stuff too. Okay, it's gonna go. I think it's going Steve, Amanda, Gabe, Andrea, Tom. So Steve Atinsky, take it away.
Okay, well, before I launch into my first book, I want to do a hats off to Tom, who recommended a few times last year the Mike Nichols memoir, and that was my book for over the holiday season, and I just loved it, every page.
Look,
it's
Tom
just
still got it right by him.
So many incredible stories. Yeah, so that's still worth going out and picking up a copy. Okay, as far as me, my first book, like you were saying, Julie, a lot of big books coming out tomorrow, including Hana Yanagihara's newest, To Paradise. And of course, she's best known for A Little Life. And this one it's quite different than A Little Life. And she does something different with every book. And
look who's got a pretty copy of that there, Gabe.
Beautiful copy.
I know.
Yeah. What did I say?
Here comes Amanda too. Amanda's gonna brag too. Like everybody's bragging. I have one upstairs. Should I go get it and brag too?
Brag away. I think To Paradise, A Little Life was such an emotional book, and To Paradise has some of that in it, but it's much more, I think, a book about big ideas. And it's divided into 3 sections, each 100 years apart. And the first section is set in New York, and it's an alternative New York. Same-sex marriage is legal, but who you marry is still dictated by wealth and class. So it's kind of an alternate gay version of Henry James Washington Square. That's how I would put it. And
I love that.
each section of the book, it's the primary location is this brownstone in Washington Square. And also an interesting thing she does, the characters in each of the three sections are either, they have kind of the same names. There's David's and Charles and a Charlie when it's a woman. And it's just interesting how they're related to each other in some ways, but it isn't emphasized at all. And the second part is 1993 during the AIDS epidemic. And the featured character is a Hawaiian man. He's a young man. He works at a law firm and he becomes the lover of one of the partners. And then he's introduced by to this group of older men, and they're all dealing, this is 1993, they're dealing with the loss of friends. It's just a horrible time. But he gets to know some of these men. But inside he's got this shame about his own family, about his father, his Hawaiian father, who would have been, and again, it's an alternate Hawaii. It's not the historical Hawaii exactly, but his father would have been ascended to be king of Hawaii if it was an independent Hawaii. But instead, he's just lost in this, she calls it Lipawa o Nahele. I think I pronounced that reasonably well, which it translates to the gloom and darkness of the forest. It's a very dark section, and I have to say it's the hardest section of the book to get through, but it's very interesting. And then the third section is 2093, and this imagines the country, what it might be like after decades of pandemics. And here, a scientist is the main character who once advocated for the policies that have led to this fascist society. So supposedly to protect everybody from being infected, but the government has taken advantage of this and really used it to become an extremist, reactionary fascist government. His whole mission in this part is to save his granddaughter, her name is Charlie. She's a damaged young woman. She is damaged because the vaccine that she took to save her life from one of these viruses has left her that way. And she's a beautiful character and you fall in love with her. So anyway, those are the three main sections of the book. And I just think it's brilliant. I will say it's not an easy read, but to stick with it because it's rewarding.
But that's the thing, is that if you're a Nora Roberts reader, you're probably not going to want to read on it.
We're going to get letters from Nora Roberts readers.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right. I know. Because Nora's watching right now. But it's kind of that thing. It's like, know of what you're reading. And, if you like a tough, good, just well done. Nobody does it better than Hanya. They just don't. She's just fantastic. So
anybody that read A Little Life is not going to expect a walk in the park.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
True.
So I have to read some comments. Kim, I hope you don't mind me calling you out here, but Kim's joining us and she said, read so many good books thanks to all of your recs. The Anomaly Matrix, The Survivors, Memoirs of Stockholm Sven, China Room, several people are typing, Ramadan Ramsey, so much good reading. So she says you guys are the best. So thank you, Kim, for joining us with that. And then this one I thought was super funny, Tom. Beth Doherty, hi Beth, she's one of our favorites. She goes, I joined late. I see Mike Nichols on the list. Tom must be back.
Exactly.
But we said that Steve did bring it up first, so that was so you're off the hook on that. Your perennial recommendation is just going to be Mike Nichols.
soon coming in paperback, I'll just say.
See, there you go.
We'll see it again.
We'll see it again. All right, Amanda, take it away.
Alrighty, so my first book actually is out today, not tomorrow. So FYI, this one is already in the store. So we bring two powerhouse authors together, James Patterson with Mike Lupica, and they have written The Horsewoman. So this is a romantic thriller set against the backdrop of an Olympic-level equestrian competition. Mike, of course, is well known for his wonderful sports writing, and James Patterson brings that thriller element to it. So just super excited to have these two together. James Patterson is really great with his collaborations and who he works with. Always producing fantastic books. And so I am super excited to have this one out today. Again, today. Get it now.
Yay. And go to Warwick's website, and I'll put in the comment section. We're hosting him and Mike tomorrow. So you can register for that event. You can buy the book. You can come just watch the event. But Elizabeth Letts, who wrote the $80 Champion and I'm blanking on her other books. But anyway, she's going to do the interview. So she's a true equestrian guru too. So this is going to be a great conversation tomorrow night. So 4 o'clock here. So come and watch us with us. It'll be a good one. I love James Patterson. He's just, you're right, Amanda, the collaborations, but just his philanthropy and everything, he's amazing.
You know what? He's amazing to independent bookstores with his bookstore bonuses and everything like that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. He has penned his own memoir that'll be coming in the summer. I'm blanking on the exact date, but this summer, stay tuned.
Awesome.
And it is a fabulous, fabulous read.
And you know what he's really good is he just writes that book that's just like, just take you away. Just give me a story. And like he said, he goes, yes, he writes short chapters, but he wants to just give you a punch every time, so
works
love
right
it.
through it. Yep.
All right, Gabe, what do you have for us today?
I have a indie introduce a pick favorite, Daughter of the Moon Goddess.
Ooh, great cover.
By Sulin Tan. Yeah, it's a great cover. I wanted to make it bigger to have an impact, but it's a duology, and this is the first book in this duology. And the protagonist is Chang, who is the daughter of the moon goddess. She is grown up on the moon, mostly isolated, and she feels she's had this liberty to do as she pleases. But as she learns more about her life and her mom, she realizes he's actually being hidden on the backside of the moon by her mother, and from the trying to keep her safe. And so there's the evil villain overlord is on the search for Chang because he's imprisoned her mom. So the whole book is about Chang trying to free her mother and escape, gain back some of her powers, because some of her power fades. She encounters, some internal system issues, and she goes off on this quest. So it's basically like a quest novel, fantasy. Really, I think it's got a great crossover appeal for young adult. I think people who read The City of Brass, that series, she gives us a good quote. S.J. Charabarti. So it's I think it's a book that if you're not necessarily a fantasy reader, it's a book that it'll easily bring you in. It's one of those books I think that transcends genre, in spite of it really is what it is. I think there's just a lot of appeal for a general good reader who wants something a little bit adventurous and a little bit different and set in another place. But it's really a lot of fun. As I said, we've been promoting it really, really early on. Honestly, it's the first time author for me, and the response from the booksellers and my book buyers was really, really, really positive. And I think we have a really strong book. Look out for the next one. It'll be out later in the year, I think maybe late this year, maybe early next year at the latest, and more from Sulin Tan. I think the jacket says it all. The jacket will definitely gets it picked up. Good blurbs, good reviews, strong all the way around. As I said, the ABA, which is the American Bookseller Association, readers have been behind it from Jump Street, and it advanced very, very positively. So I'm really excited to have this out in the world right now.
I always love the Indie Next selections or Indies Introduced selections because they really do narrow in and find some gems.
Yeah. It's really it's a rigorous set of obstacles you got to go through and readers that you got to go through, because we've had some really good books and people, and we're just like, we just didn't make it.
It didn't make it. Yeah. So it's not like it's just like fluff that is like, no, because I was on that. I was on it one year. And I mean, you really do have to put aside some really good books.
Yeah. It's
So
really hardcore.
really it is the cream that kind of rises. So I'm really excited for this. And I'm excited that the second one is coming out next year, not like 4 years from now. So I'll be able to remember of what I read.
Yeah,
no, exactly.
I mean, the package is so great. I mean, how are people not going to pick it up when they see it on a table? I mean, it's beautiful.
What a great package. Really
great package. Okay, Andrea, what do you have for us?
I'm going to, for something completely different, I'm going to talk about, let me see if I can get this where you can see it. Jeez. Oh.
Deal.
Okay, the steel. That's a terrible, terrible like glare on that. Sorry, everyone. Yes, so that's the steel. And that's from Mark Bowden, who wrote Black Hawk Down, among other highfalutin bestsellers. The subtitle is The Attempt to Overturn the 2020 Election and the People Who Stopped It. And this was commissioned by Grove Press's publisher and CEO, Morgan Entrekin.
He commissioned this?
Yes, he commissioned it. He, I'll read you a little note what he said about it. He said, like millions of Americans, I watched with concern and dismay as President Trump and his allies attempted to overturn the results of the 2020 election. After the storming of the Capitol, the second impeachment, I thought there needed to be a record of this unprecedented attempt to undermine a free and fair election. We put together a team of researchers, reporters, headed by Mark and Matthew Teague, that's the co-author, who focused on the 6 states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, where Trump claimed widespread voter fraud. The resulting book is more important than ever as Trump's baseless claims continue to threaten the public's faith in our elections. So we all know what's going on. I think that this book, the thing that differentiates this book from any other book on the subject is that it moves outside of the Beltway to talk to regular folks at state and regional local levels, mainly Republicans, who stood up for the integrity of the Constitution and the voting process in this country, and said no. And that's why this one's different. It's a very important document. I think that researchers, historians, and the politically curious will be looking at this book in 100 years if our species makes it that long. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. And I'm just happy and proud to be affiliated with this book. I do think it's an extremely important historical document. People from both sides of the aisle are talking about how important it is, which I think, gives some credence to it. Yeah, I mean, PJ O'Rourke, who's a libertarian, says, the Still is brilliant, an incredibly important document reported without bile or self-righteousness, a book every conservative should read. So extremely important, like I've said already. And this is basically a perfect complement to what's going on with the United States House Select Committee on the January 6th attack. So if you're following at home, and once this starts to be the committee's work starts to be televised, this will be a nice complementary document for you and the historian and political buff in your life.
Excellent. I love Mark Bowden. He came for I'm going to mispronounce it. What's the Vietnamese city? HUE. Is it Hue?
Yeah.
1968.
Not sure.
Way. Way.
Right.
That's it. Way,
Dewey.
1968. Yeah. It was, I mean, that was one of those events that I just sat there like this. I mean, he knows his stuff. He does excellent research. He's a really
he's
good guy.
amazing.
He's really
He's amazing. He's a really cool guy, as you were saying.
Really,
He's great to talk to. His scope of interests and his ability to write about it with mastery, and some verve, just is kind of amazing. He's just one of the great narrative nonfiction writers of our time.
Yeah,
So
I agree completely.
For sure.
Okay, Tom, what do you have for us?
Well, I'm going to share my screen for the first time.
It's 2022. Rip the Band-Aid off on technology here.
Tell me, have I shared my screen?
Let's see. Hold on. Yes, you have.
All right. Now what? You'll have to help me unshare it. But okay. So here it is.
I can take it away for you.
Book. Okay, good. Thank you. So this is a book. So to your point, Julie, about books being published in January, a lot more books being published in January. This was a book that was originally going to be published maybe, I think, in November, I think. And when the field reps, all of us were reading it and falling in love with it. It was one of those books that each rep would tell another one, like, oh, have you read Fiona and Jane? No, you got to read that one. So we suggested that they move it out of the fall because it's just such a busy time. We wanted it to have space, and I think it's been really good for the book. I hope so. It was published. It was on sale last week, and it's already developing into one of our buzziest debuts. So it's I adore this book. So it's a character study of these two Taiwanese American women, Fiona and Jane, friends from like second grade, and we follow them over basically 2 decades of their lives together and apart. It spans decades, and it, as they navigate friendship and sex and identity and heartbreak over those 2 decades, you really fall in love with the characters and you root for each of them. They're completely different kinds of women. But it's really indelible. You will not forget these characters. It's primarily set in Los Angeles. Jean Chen-Ho, the author, lives in LA. But it also takes you to New York in certain sections and to Taiwan. But one of the things that really is important to me about the book is that this is not the LA we're used to seeing in books or in movies. This is Cerritos. This is immigrant America that we're just not privy to, haven't up until now. Now we're getting a lot more stories like this. So it's not the Hollywood version of Los Angeles. Very real. It's witty. It's irreverent. She's just a terrific young writer. So great reviews everywhere. It's a selection of the Bellatrist and the Marie Claire Book Club already. Really just a debut that, in all of the reviews, they talk about how the 2 characters become almost like your best friends, and you don't want the book to end. And the other thing I'll say is its format is not a novel exactly, but I think of it as a novel, but it's connected short stories. So sometimes Fiona and Jane are both in the story, sometimes it's just Fiona, sometimes it's just Jane, but you get this larger picture, novelistic picture through these stories. And it reminded me of a book that Viking published, seems like just yesterday, but I looked it up. It was 22 years ago, The Girl's Guide to Hunting and Fishing, if anyone remembers that. That was also a collection of stories, but linked. I love that book. And anyway, so if you're in the mood for something that's very literary, but really approachable, highly recommend Fiona and Jane.
Love it.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome. Did I time that perfectly or what?
Perfect.
But I love that.
So
and I love that Bellatrix picked it too, because they always pick very interesting, very edgy, but really interesting books. So that's a really good endorsement for it. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, I feel like I think they picked such a fun age. I think
they did too.
Published that.
I think they did too.
So for the same reader.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen now too. Oh, look at me going. 2022, here we come. Let's see if this works. There we go. Okay, I'm listening to Gabe. You're not even looking, Gabe, and it's your book.
I'm glued.
You're
I just
glued
had
to
you
my-
on 2 screens.
Okay, I just started listening to this, so get it on libro.fm. If you are so interested. It's narrated by a great I guess they're narrator, actress, whatever, so you get the full British accents. It's a very prestigious school that these girls are in. I'm only about halfway through it right now, but I'm loving it. So just one of those fun female friendship stories with a something bad happens, and just like how catty girls can be, and just set in that backdrop of a privileged girls' school. So that they call themselves the Divines. They are divine. Oh my God, it's hilarious on some parts.
This is a book that we had a weird cover on the hardback, and we had a really hard time with it, but it's such a good book.
It's such a good book.
It's such a good book, and we published it in paperback, and it's been a tough slog, and we got a better package on the paperback, but it is one of those books that when you open it up, you just start turning pages and you're just gone. You know,
Yeah.
you're 50,
I'm
40 pages
listening
in.
to it. So I'm listening to this very British woman telling this story, and like the way that her husband says she gets called the C word. And so every so often you hear him in this British woman in a Swedish accent saying the C word. It's hilarious. So anyways, it's really good. I mean,
It really is. It's a good, in paperback, it's a good pickup, and it'll satisfy. It's like a good reader and a commercial reader.
Correct.
Book reader. It
Yeah.
will satisfy both because it's so well
it has
done.
a little bit of the secret history sort of thing. There's something's happened.
There's a good subplot, the dark plot.
The
part of
dark
but
plot, something happens, but just going through like what the Divines are, and I mean, it's really good. It's a really good book.
Yeah, I was really one of those books that we really worked hard at, and it's been tough, but hopefully.
Well, here's an interesting fact, and I don't know where my friend, because I don't remember if you talked about it, Gabe, here or not. I can't remember. I don't know, but a friend of mine, somehow it bubbled up to her, and I do like her taste. So that's one of the reasons I was like, oh, how did that bubble up to her? So it's out there.
Somebody heard about it, yeah.
Somebody heard about
sometimes,
That's a good-
honestly, sometimes I walk around and I go into a bookstores and nobody sold any, and all of a sudden, somebody sold 2, and I'm like, where did they hear? How'd they hear
But
about
that's
this?
a great sign that word of mouth. That's
word of
the
mouth
best
is
way
what
to
moves
sell a
it.
book.
Yeah, so it definitely, so it came from and she's a commercial reader, so it's like, so I don't know how it bubbled up to her, but interesting.
I hear there's this thing called Instagram where people sometimes, even the authors, post things, and a lot of people get ideas of things
Shut
to
up,
read from there.
Steve.
No, it's I'm just
I
saying.
should check that out.
I say that because I never look at Instagram, and then sometimes I hear about a book of ours that is suddenly hot, and it was because the author posted something on Instagram. So
Right.
I'm not
You're
I'm not totally being facetious. Just
You're not totally poking me. You're not totally poking me a little bit.
Not totally.
Not
totally.
not 100%. Just maybe like 90%.
Maybe do some research on your phone.
30 at the most.
You better be careful though. See, he has control of this whole thing, and if
Yeah,
you
I can
sometimes share
easily
your screen,
like,
you might just
oh,
cut you
I think
off.
we lost Steve. I don't know what happened to his connection.
Oh.
Smart Alex Steve is gone.
I don't know what happened. All right, Steve, what's your next pick?
Oh,
I
boy.
promise not to interrupt.
Talk about going to something completely different. Completely different. This is, well, you can't even read it here. It's the aftermath, or just aftermath, I should say. And this is life in the fallout of the Third Reich. They didn't post on Instagram. Okay, I'm going to go down. I'm just getting silly here. 1945 through 1955. This got an incredible front page New York Times review this weekend, which is why I wanted to talk about it. It's out tomorrow. Harold Janner is the author, and I think I'll just mostly just read from his great review. He quotes Martha Gellhorn at the beginning. "No one was a Nazi," Martha Gellhorn wrote about the end of World War II in Europe, recalling how all the Germans she met insisted They had hidden the communists or were secretly half Jewish. And photojournalist Margaret Burke White heard the phrase, "We didn't know," with such monotonous frequency that it sounded like a kind of chant for Germany. So in this book, journalist Janner is similarly skeptical, and he describes how the majority of surviving Germans were so preoccupied with their own suffering that the dominant mood was one of self-pity. There were no Nazis when the Allies arrived in Berlin. No one was a Nazi. They all saw themselves as victims, he writes, and thus had the dubious good fortune of not having to think about the real ones. And he tells this story. He really is a good writer in the way he does his, another really good narrative fiction writer, historical fiction writer. Fiction, I keep saying fiction, but it's nonfiction, of course. So in 1950, he says there were 1,362 women for every 1,000 men. The soldiers who did return were often maimed or psychologically destroyed. And during the war, the women had driven trams, operated bulldozers. They learned that they didn't really need men to function. And Janner tells that the men who came back, the German men, they were more concerned with their own humiliation than any war crimes that were committed. So, I mean, he just gives a really great psychological portrait of the German mindset after the war.
Fascinating, and didn't really, that's a part of the history. I mean, there's so much about what happened during World War II, but looking at Germany after, I don't think I've ever read anything that's really highlighted. I mean, I read Hans Fallada, but that was written in the 30s in the thick of it. So when he wasn't writing nonfiction, he was writing fictionalized accounts, but he was kind of writing from the German perspective in the 30s. But looking at post Germany, I don't think I've ever read anything like that.
I haven't either, but I don't read a lot of historical books, but I haven't, even in documentaries that you see on television.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
I have my next book club. I have my next book club pick. I'm thinking that might be on that list.
Great.
Ooh, there you go. Okay, Amanda, what do you have for us next?
Yeah. All right. So my next pick that I have is Antoinette's Sister by Diana, and please forgive me, I'm going to butcher this, Giovinazzo.
I think that's good.
Close enough. So this is actually the story of Marie Antoinette's sister, actually. So of course, everybody in the world knows who Marie Antoinette is. So this is her sister, Maria Carolina Charlotte. And she is the 9th daughter in this family. And when her older sister dies from smallpox, she's actually sent to go marry Ferdinand from Naples in her stead. And so along the way, she's of course dealing with what's going on in France with her sister, her own issues within her own country. What's going on. It's a really wonderful side of history that we just really haven't seen. It never would have occurred to me to even think about Marie Antoinette's siblings when there were 16 of them. That's a lot of them. So it's kind of a little bit of a story that we really don't know. And she was just as feisty and just as wonderful as Marie Antoinette. And so it's nice to see her story come out. Diana is actually local to the Los Angeles area. She was able to come to one of our local trade show, regional association shows to kind of talk to us about her book too, which is really wonderful. And I actually have my own copy right here for me. And I am a huge fan of history and historical fiction in general. And I think this is it was a fantastic read. You're just really going to enjoy it. And again, it's just a part of history that we just really don't know a lot about, that we're kind of getting this little peek into.
It kind of reminds me of like The Other Boleyn Girl.
Exactly.
That kind of take on things.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of those, women that were there, and
Right.
they have their own stories, kind of, but they have a really famous sibling.
And famous siblings, but that mom, their mother, she was just ruling Europe at the time, just kind of placing her daughters in with these. I mean, there's a whole story just about her mom.
Yeah.
That could be a great historical fiction take.
What do you do with all those kids, man? There's only so many pairings available.
Oh man, but
the
she was
nobility.
doing. I mean, it's
It was
amazing.
working
We have
it,
a
yeah.
local historian, Nancy Goldstone, lives in Del Mar, and she did a book. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it was all about this. It was all about and how Marie Antoinette, like everyone wants to think that, but there's like just some things about Louis that she was, yeah. Anyways, it's very interesting. All the history.
It is. It's fascinating. Like the mother really was one of the great
Chess
strategists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and
super.
the great power strategists of the period. I mean, the whole lineage like kept going because of her. Like
Yeah.
just like the power continued for like, you know, years after that because of her. And she was a trip for sure, and like really shrewd with all that stuff. So
yeah, super interesting family. So
To
that one looks
command.
good.
It is, and that's what she had to do. Charlotte had to, you know, follow in her mother to take control of her country,
Yeah.
despite what was going on in France with her sister. And how do you manage that so
Yeah.
that your own country, you know, despite what's going on with your siblings and stuff. So
Interesting.
it's
Love it.
yeah, a great read. And again, out tomorrow. So
Excellent. Okay, Gabe.
Wow,
What you got?
male history just getting lost here. She had a brother who was
Oh, herstory.
so
Herstory.
history. Tough to be a man right now.
Oh. At least you know. Oh, I was just gonna say something so bad.
Say it,
We're
Julie.
on the
say
air.
it.
I didn't realize that I'm live. I can't say
You're
it.
being recorded.
I'll say it after.
Don't take me.
I can't believe I was just gonna say that.
You can't talk to me that way. I mean, she had a brother who was like Holy Roman Emperor or something too. You know,
Yeah,
like,
right.
it was cool.
powerful
Cool.
family. Powerful family.
So I'm gonna move quickly because we are like
I know
way.
we're lagging today, but it's good. I love all the people we have with us. Oh, good.
My next book is what's it gonna be? It's gonna be Wahala. No, it's gonna be The Torque Man by Peter Mann. A damn good read, says Alan First. This is one of my favorite books. This is a book I've been wanting to talk about. Goes on sale tomorrow, as does the previous book I spoke of, and the book I'm going to talk about next. So, and I had a lot of good books to pick from, and we are publishing so many good books that we might have to expand to maybe 4 or 5 next time, Julie.
We'll be going 2 hours on this thing if we do that.
But The Torque Man is it's a historical novel with its own, playing by its own rules. It is World War II, end of World War II. We're looking at like 1945-ish, thereabouts, towards the end of the war, and we have a German spy runner who is running an Irish spy, is one of his the people that he's handling. So the Irish had a whole deal with the Brits because of the colonialism, so a lot of them sided with Germany during the war. So the novel is told it as like 2 different journals. One is Alistair, the Adrian de Groot is the German spy master, as he sees himself. So we see they're telling this narrative through their own eyes and their own lens. So he paints himself as this brilliant spy runner, and he's running the spy, Frank Pike, and who is his occasional lover. So right away, this guy is gay. He's German. He's working for the Nazis. He's definitely confused. He's living. He's barely surviving. So, but the picture that he paints of himself is as this really brilliant spy runner and very savoir-faire spy. And then we read Frank's manuscript, and Frank is all about, his whole narrative is all about his assassination job to like murder all of Hitler's doctors, eventually, hopefully getting Hitler himself. So neither of these 2 narratives are based in any sort of real reality outside of what we already know about history. So he's really twisting these 2 narratives around as each reader's, each one is more unreliable than the other. And through this, it's really brilliant because, you know, they talk about the writers and authors are liars, right? But the liars, you get to the truth with the liars. And I think this is exactly what this does, because their stories are completely not in any realm of the reality that they're existing in. But the reader dilutes the truth of the story through the narrative. It's just really, really brilliant and fun and funny. And, you know, Pike sets himself up as this, you know, super Irish legendary hero, you know, is how he sees himself, and he's strutting around like a peacock. And it just really, really a lot of fun with these two very, very different characters who share one thing, which is the storytelling. And it's a wonderful little read.
I love it. It sounds
sounds
good.
great.
So like, yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
really good.
Nice and twisty.
I love the twisty ones. Can you figure it out?
Yeah, you kind of know where it's going to end up,
Okay.
but it's, you know, it's
Still
just
the fun ride.
It's the ride is just it's not really a mystery per se.
Okay, got it.
But there's definitely you do have to dilute your brain. I like to think lately how the brain's filtering things that you're seeing, and how you're reading something that's completely not the truth, but you know that it's not, and your brain. I just found it brilliant.
Yeah, I love it.
I just found it brilliant.
Okay, Andrea, what do you got for us?
I want to talk about the Swells. This is by Will Aitken. And this is just went on sale on January 4th. And this is from House of Nancy Press from Canada, a literary house up yonder. It's a trade paperback original at $16.99. And this is a extremely hilarious dark satire, literary in scope. It's extremely well done. It's been, if you can believe this, it doesn't happen often, but it has been compared to the likes of Evelyn Waugh and Jonathan Swift in terms of its satirical bent and the darkness therein. But more recently, if you like French Exit or My Year of Rest and Relaxation, this book is for you as well. Or anybody who likes Wes Anderson films like The Royal Tenenbaums, especially. It's right in that sweet spot there. And it's basically follows the, I wanted to have a nautical book on the list because you are, of course, in La Jolla. And I like to, you know, I like anything coastal for you guys. I want to, like, you know, have one of those books to pitch at least once a month, you know, if I can. So this is that one. And it's based on a luxury cruise line. And the story is told by a young woman who's penniless, but travels on her unlimited budget as a luxury travel writer. And all sorts of mishaps happen on the open sea. And then the book is taken over. There's a mutiny and the roles are reversed. So the ultra rich who are on this ship now become the crew and have to scrub toilets and floors and serve the crew. And it's delicious. And it's really funny. So pick this book up, The Swells, and it's a nice little trade paper original. So it's not going to break the bank at $16.99. And it's a fun little read. So
That's fun.
Sounds really fun. In fact, I'm writing it down.
it's really good. I'm happy. It's selling well. I'm getting a lot of requests actually from booksellers. And just straight out the gate, it seems like it's selling, so it's nice. It's got a great cover, so you know,
Really
it's
good
easy to
cover.
pick up.
Yeah, really good cover.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, take us away for the last one. We're gonna have to really be a lightning round after Tom's done, you guys. Tom, you take your time on this one, but
If
we
Tom-
really have to go lightning.
If Tom can share his screen, I did, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. and I'm also prepared to hold it up. So anyway, Jonathan Evason's Small World. So this is exciting for me because I've been a fan of Jonathan. I haven't read all of his books, but I've been a fan for a long time. And he's been published by Algonquin his entire career. So this is his first book with Dutton, part of the Penguin Group. And we're really lucky because he writes different kinds of books, some big historicals, which is like this one, and then more intimate stories. And so I think it's really great that we're beginning this one, our relationship with him, with a big sprawling novel that attempts to, reckon with America over the last 200 years. But Evason never loses sight, even though he's dealing with big issues of immigration and connection and the lack of connection and the manifest destiny. He is never, it's always entertaining. He never loses sight of the entertainment part of it. That's why in every review, every quote, Dickens is invoked because it feels like that kind of book. So it's a large cast of characters, which at first takes some getting used to, like you're trying to make sure how does this relate? Because he's moving back and forth in time, but it takes place, it's really set both on a train. So trains, the metaphor of a train is really what he's dealing with here. People on a contemporary cast on a train, and then their ancestors who are heading west, and how these characters all relate now and then with their historical counterparts. So he takes you to the California Gold Rush, the development of the Continental Railroad. He's trying to tell the whole story of America through these characters. It's exciting, and we're really thrilled to be now the publisher of Evison. And then one of my many regrets that we're living in the times we are, but he is so much fun in person. I would love to be at an event with him, chatting about the book, having a drink. So one of these days, but in the meantime, we have our first book, Small World.
And you're so right, Tom, because he is just a character in and of himself. So
right.
It's too bad that we're not in a world where we can have an event live with him, because he definitely is. Okay.
And one of the hardest working writers there is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He sees it as like his job.
It's his job, and he's so generous with his time and stuff. So yeah, he's fantastic.
It's his job.
It's his job. Well, I guess
literally his job.
Literally is his job.
These authors who don't want to
some
work.
are more generous than others, though. You have to admit.
I tell new writers, the writing's the easy part, if you can believe that, because there's other stuff
nowadays, for sure, now is like you have to be a marketer when you're an author now.
There's plenty of good books out there, There's plenty of really good reads out there. So
you have to really out. But that's why they have you guys too.
Right.
Okay, here's what I'm going to talk about super quick. Tom, where are you? You have to be happy that I'm talking about this, right?
I am. See it? I'm very happy. Yes. Yeah, I talked about her book last year, but now this is the new book. Yeah,
this is the new book. Good Rich People. Have you read it yet, Tom?
I haven't. No.
Oh my God, it's so. We're hosting her in a couple weeks, and she actually talked about, I don't know how she knows my daughters went to La Costa Canyon High School, but in an email she's like, oh Julia, that's where we went. So I don't know how. I'm so curious to find out how that connection came. So it's like, okay, we're hosting her. I saw you guys did a thing on If I Disappear. There was an email, and I was like, I should dip into this just to see what it's like. I blew through 100 pages this morning. It's so good. Super elite, think like Succession kind of elite people. But then there's this, and it's got this weird twisted like game that they're gonna play. I'm not sure where that's going yet, but then this homeless girl is involved now, and so she really tackles like LA home. So you think that it's like this quirky fun, but then she touches on these really interesting, really like deep side. It's really good. I was really shocked at how, I was like, this is so good. Just like blew through.
That's
like
awesome.
I said. So yeah. So Good Rich People. So read the book. But the book's not coming out till the 25th. We're hosting her on the 26th. So it's a little bit of a preview. So don't forget about it, everybody, because it is really good. Tom, maybe remind me to talk about it when it comes out in a couple of weeks.
I will.
Okay. Lightning round. We have to be really fast.
A real lightning
I think
round?
we really have to do a lightning round, you guys. But we can go a little bit over. So
Okay, so I'll
right.
I'll try. I'll be
Lightning round.
fast. I think I'm first. Leonard Maldonado, new book on emotions.
What's it called?
It's called Emotional.
Got it. Okay.
I'm going to have to start sharing my screen. I'll be the last. He's a physicist who writes about the science of the mind, and he gives readers real practical information on how to deal with the things, the evidence that science reveals. And this is his most commercial book since Subliminal, which was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Got a great review in the New York Times also. And I'll just read that, what was in the New York Times what I want to really say is what the book reveals is, there's not this big separation between rational thought and emotions, and it's always been divided. And this book shows how they intermingle. And it got a great review, like I say, in the New York Times. I won't read it. It's the lightning round. I'll just leave it at that.
Sounds good.
I want to jump
Tom.
in. He's a great he's a really great, very accessible science writer, and he lives up the street. He's like a neighbor. I've had drinks with him at his house. So thank you for talking about it. I'll make sure he knows that.
Oh, good.
And Beth on here says she always enjoys Leonard M. So you've got already a fan for that one. So excellent. Yay. Okay, Amanda.
So I have a very cute little alphabet picture book, Letters to Live By. And just to this lightning round, just show you a couple of the cute little images. So appreciate art, become brave, choose compassion, discuss differences, save something, take time. Very cute, very whimsical little illustrations that you're really going to enjoy for the alphabet. So again, super cute.
That is so
Really
adorable.
Is it a standard size picture book, or is it like a board kind of a one?
It's a picture book.
It's a picture book. Okay.
Yeah.
Really cute. Okay, Gabe, what do you got?
I got Walhalla for you, and this is a novel that's also on sale tomorrow, as I said. And this is one of those. There's a lot of Sex in the City comments being thrown out about this book. I won't go there, but I never really watched Sex in the City. But I really enjoyed these characters and this narrative. Mickey May is a Anglo-Nigerian author. She writes about Anglo-Nigerian characters, and they're very British. It's a very British novel. Usually when you see a cover like this, you think, it's going to be exotic and historical, and it's going to have that entry that's going to be very poetic, and then it's going to be go back to some island in Martinique or something, whatever, and then growing up barefooted, etc. It's not that at all. It is just a novel set in London. It is these three friends who have this really in sync kind of relationship, and one day they allow a fourth into this close-knit group, and it throws things off kilter in a major way. So we got a great quote from Paula Hawkins. Got bestseller written all over it. We got a really great package, and it's a really lively. I would think probably the Sex and the City comps are because of the friendships, the really close friendship that exists here. It didn't feel like what I imagined Sex and the City is. I have seen a couple episodes. I'm not gonna lie, but it didn't feel like that. A lot of fun, great characters you want to spend time with, and you're in London on top of everything else.
Just because 4 women are friends doesn't mean it's Sex in the City, right?
Right.
But wait a minute, who's sharing their screen right now?
That's me, right? Oh, is it your turn?
Wow, you did. Okay.
So lightning round, Jules.
Go.
Lightning round. I'm ready to go.
Go, Andrea.
So I wanted to talk about this book, Cathedral, now out in paper with a nice cover that
Great
will
cover.
attract folks to this exceptional book. It's a historical novel from Europa Editions, our literary one of our literary presses that do a lot of things in translation. This is in the original English, however. 1795, 624 pages, so it's quite the doorstop and a great value for that price. It was a New York Times editor's choice, and beloved by a wide variety of indie booksellers happily, and sold very, very well. And I think this is going to do well over time in paperback. It's a historical novel set in the Rhineland, and it's a multi-generational saga, basically, about the building of a cathedral and all of the machinations and political intrigue, etc., that go with such a huge undertaking. One bookseller, Eric Boss, said that it's got great historical detail, which I agree with, and anybody who reads historical fiction will love this. But anyone who loves a multi-generational saga with plenty of sex and violence will also find it gratifying. So there you go.
What could be better than sex and violence?
Something for everyone. So.
Something for everyone. And Amanda's in the background on the chat saying Cathedral is fantastic historical fiction. Sex and violence, Amanda. Come on now.
It's got everything. Something for everyone here, just like my entire list, basically. So
exactly, your entire list has something for everybody, for sure. Okay, Tom, take it home.
All right, sharing my screen. Where are you? There you are. This is easy. The Paris bookseller. So first of all, who doesn't love books about books and booksellers? So it's a historical novel, but it's the story of Sylvia Beach and Shakespeare and Company in Paris, and her relationship with James Joyce, and how she came to change the course of literary history of the 20th century by publishing Ulysses. But it's great fun. It's the time, Hemingway, Fitzgerald, they all make their appearances, but really it's the relationship between Sylvia and Joyce that, is the central thing. Ulysses will be 100 years old in a few weeks. And if you love, that time in Paris, it's just a great historical novel that, goes down really easily, on sale tomorrow.
I love those. I love the ones like Midnight Paris was one of my favorites. Just like when you bring all those, it's so weird to think about all of those brains that were in Paris at the same time. And
I know.
just like
I love that period.
Being a fly on the wall in one of those salons must have just been like, oh my God. And Carrie's actually going to be at Warwick's. We're actually, fingers crossed, going to do a live event with her in March.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And Kate Quinn, I think, is going to interview her.
Oh, good.
So,
that makes sense, because she gave us a great quote.
Yeah. So, because Kate's here in San Diego, so that's going to be a good event. So if you're here in San Diego with us, come join us for that. By the hair of our chinny chin chin, we got done within the hour.
We did it.
Good job, everybody.
A real lightning round.
A real lightning round. That was awesome.
Don't make us do that again, Julie. A real lightning round.
Awful stressful. Trying to keep it to like short.
I know. But it was really really good recommendations this week. I mean, like I said, and I knowing what's coming in the next couple weeks, there's just some really good books coming out. So
yeah.
All right, everybody. Happy reading. We'll see everybody next Monday. So thanks, everybody. Off we go. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.